You are watching Breakfast Television. Sunny Verma is here, and he is the president of a company called TutorBright, tutorbright.com, and they cater to kids of all ages, and you help kids with tutoring.
Exactly.
And their homework.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the paperless class, though, some pros and cons.
Well, I think actually the paperless classes are inevitable. Technology in the classroom is changing so rapidly, and there's many benefits for it. I think
It's good for the environment.
Well, exactly. It's green, right? And we're all going green now. But I think even more importantly in terms of the student aspect is that any new technology really engages students. So, for example, when the new iPhone comes out, when the new BlackBerry comes out, when a new gaming console comes out, students are all about it, right? So when you implement a new technology in the classroom, it has a very, very similar effect. So that really allows students to really want to utilize the technology. And if the technology is good, students will, it actually will have a longevity effect. So it can be very, very beneficial. And some of, just to give you some examples, some of the technologies that are really, really being very prominent in the classroom right now, number one is smartboards. Now this allows teachers to actually write out on a smartboard, which gets automatically transferred to a student's laptop or to some online form where they can access it.
So you don't have to write it down.
Exactly, you don't have to. So think about it when we were in school. If I had to write down my students' notes, I can't even read my own writing, right? So after when I'm trying to study, it becomes a little bit of a difficulty. So if I have access to my teacher's notes automatically, it allows me to study a little bit more efficiently. Now, I think a little bit more of the negative side of it is that personally, I truly feel the tactile feel of a pen and paper really goes a long way in terms of learning.
Well, that you remember as you're writing it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're absorbing that information.
That's exactly. And think about it. When you're reading let's say, Shakespearean play, and you have your highlighter out, and you're going over some specific article within this play.
As I'm reading the Coles notes.
Exactly. Same with me. But when you're actually doing that, you tend to remember what you're actually highlighting or what you're writing.
So 100%.
So I think that's one of the difficulties that do come up with this, especially for some of the older students that have to transition into this technology.
Okay, what about social media? What about how that's changing education, like Twitter and Facebook and your laptops?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is actually the pinnacle of change in education. I think it's at the forefront of teaching styles right now. And the reason for this is that it traditionally was looked at as such a negative thing. When I was a kid, my parents would give me an earful if I watched too much TV. Now what I keep hearing from parents is that
they're on Facebook
they're
all
on
the time.
Facebook the whole
time. But is this good?
Well, it has a good and a bad. The good behind is that a good teacher in a good educational institution can actually utilize social media within the classroom. Now, how they usually do this, it's easy for me to give you an example. Think about it when you were in class and there was a student who was a little bit quieter, who never put up their hand, and the teacher could say, well, what do you think? And it kind of puts them in that really awkward uncomfortable position. When they're online, if they create a Facebook group or if they have a blog, let's say the teacher, the student can access this blog and post their ideas, their thoughts. And this allows two things: a student to communicate with their teacher much more effectively. Number two, it allows a teacher to really understand the student's potential. So instead of picking on the student and putting them in that really uncomfortable situation, they can now actually really see what the student has to say. So the communication means opens greatly. I think number two, what's even more importantly, is that it really levels the playing field of the international teaching spectrum. And what I mean by this is that it takes the localized classroom and makes it global. If a teacher is teaching something about ancient Egypt, they can easily access one of their experts that they might know in Egypt through Twitter and say, hey, what do you think about this in a classroom setting? So
it's basically, it's helping.
It's definitely
for more information, just go to tutorbright.com for more information on anything and how you can get yourself a tutor from kids 3 and up. We're heading into you, Kev.